you only run a code when it's really required. Every architecture, every product has some part of the code which you do not need to run always, like some batch systems, some ingestion, some data ingestion is coming, some work that you have to do as a trigger of an event. So in traditional data centers, you run big servers and you are running one process for it. It just keeps running, and it only, how many of us have, put up, cron tab for some work? Now, those are the things which you can use by event-driven microservices using serverless. That's the right place to do. You don't run that code always. You just, run it based on an event. That would be my 2 cents.
Okay. Anyone else?
Well, I have never used serverless, though I have studied it, the Lambdas. I myself am a big fan of functional programming. And I believe, so I know if you ever look into functional programming and have some background in Microsoft Excel, so functional programming is very similar to Excel programming, and you can do a whole lot of computation in Excel. The way I see it, till recently I was heading analytics at Myntra, and what I noticed there was putting control in the hands of business folks. And so we created this data democracy portal, which was built on top of AWS Redshift, which proved to be a game changer. What Myntra was the first e-commerce company to become cash flow zero in India, which is saying a lot because everyone else is losing money. Oh, and since January, they have went back into negative. Hopefully, they'll get positive now. But one of the elements of this success was the fact that we enabled our business users big time, or as Donald Trump will say, bigly. So what we did was we put data directly in their hands. This portal did that. And this was basically a data warehouse which they could kind of query themselves. But the next evolution would come with serverless, where the business teams start to respond to events. And these events could be anything. Especially in the e-commerce world, I believe, I don't know, other item that I did at Myntra was getting a set of data scientists and data analysts inside every business group. So try to invert the model. And these folks are the best suited people to actually leverage this technology. So in some sense, that's a slightly different way of working. Instead of the data analyst working for a business group and sitting inside information technology, this was the information technology guy sitting inside the business group. And that sort of worked well. And I think this trend will continue. In fact, the other thing that we noticed was that our managers were very data savvy. And they will catch on.
Interesting. Okay, so we'll now have one of our colleagues coming in and ushering with a microphone, or a handheld mic. We'd like to take questions from audience. I know it's sort of in the evening. The first question is always the hardest. And then once the first question comes and it breaks the ice and others start falling. So please do ask questions for the panel, because this is for you. Introduce your name and the company you work for, and then you can ask your question. Here, there's a gentleman here, sir.
My name is Manak Shah.
It'll work now.
Hello. Yeah. My name is Manak Shah. I'm working for Herbalife. My question is for you, actually. Thing is, you people are giving a good technologies, and then it's very good. For business people, for example, we are going to start a business. If we wants to develop our own site, not even a site, that's not a site. I'm talking about, for example, we are planning for a warehouse management systems or some other like a Flipkart, we are planning to build a servers or something like that. Why can't you create a format for it in AWS itself? You can create a format for it, what type of business you're required, and then what type of database you are required, and then it can be very easy for them to what to say, develop the applications. That kind of technology can be used of.
Wizard-based thing to make it more
Yes,
simpler. Yeah.
not like many people are there like websites. Websites.
sure.
I will like, I'm not from Amazon, so declare I might say something
Please,
wrong, but Amazon
yeah.
don't mind. I'll tell you, right? So you ask a developer, is AWS cool? They'll say yes. Ask, is Microsoft Azure cool? No. But see, what happens is that in a at least what I like about AWS, right? The reason I'm sticking to AWS, I'm an ex-Microsoft. Because the services and the tools they provide are fundamentally solving one algorithm. If you look at everything that they do, it's a one algorithm. Now, AWS, all the services are mutually functionally exclusive, right, in terms of the value prop. What AWS, at least Amazon, wants is there are other startups. For example, there's a startup called MongoLab. If you just database setup, right, NoSQL database, MongoLab is built on top of AWS, right, because developers love AWS, because AWS never dictates this is the template that you should follow. If you want to do an e-commerce site, this is what you should do. Like IBM Watson, right? If you go to IBM Watson, there's so many templates, it's hell confusing. And it's really difficult to understand the basics of it. AWS has always, at least the way I see it, always followed the divide and conquer model. For the entire cloud, they divided the entire cloud into all the algorithms that you would ever need to build any cloud application. And they've given you individual algorithms and its isolation. And let you build on top of it. That's their strategy in the market. Where other cloud companies are there who are giving the individual components and the wizard or anything on top of it. So it might be very aligned to the business guys, but AWS is all, you ask any developer, is always the coolest thing. Perceived brand is AWS's cool thing to do.
Yeah, I will add to what Ronak is saying. So it's pretty much like, look at AWS is like a Lego blocks. They give you Lego blocks and open up an economy for the, for other service providers to build stuff on Lego blocks and sell it to business customers.
I'm not talking about like a wizard type. Okay, you can just create like a server level for one guy. For example, you're going to start one business. Just do like a one server and then give to him. And then do the whatever alter can be, do it in the development side. That kind of opportunities have to be done. And then even though for example, I'm not into the AWS, but the thing is I'm into the learning steps right now. Many like database levels, and then everything is integrated into that services. So you can just, even though I want to talk about this also. Sorry?
Sure. So I think basically the theme is how do we simplify it further for non-developers? That's probably the broad theme.
Yes.
Yeah. So we are getting there. We have taken feedback. If you look at a console itself, like 10 years ago, we just had APIs and SDKs. And over time, as we started going into enterprises, we made the console more user-friendly. Not only wizards, but just made marketplaces and other things where at a click of a mouse button without writing code, you can get stuff on your hands. But what these gentlemen try to say is there's only a limited extent that you can do that with a UI, beyond which you will need development cycles to make and differentiate your product. But I do get your point. What we have also done is...
Alter also, whatever he's telling is, we can do to some extent level. Not to the deepest whatever requirement.
Correct.
That requirement we have to implement with our development. That kind of options have to be given inside to that application.
Sure. And what we're doing is we're also working with an ecosystem of partners to kind of make that easier for our customers. Yes, you all recommend.
So I guess sometimes one size doesn't fit all, and there are probably too many permutations and combinations there, which maybe I think a lot of people try to go into a self-service type of model that we want to do it all ourselves. But there are also these guys, solution architects, who will help you out in that sort of situation, where they will answer your queries on how to use something in a certain manner, which may be in tune with what you want to achieve. That is one.
Well, my take is, I think to be a good tech entrepreneur, you have to be like a good cook. You don't make a cake and then try to reduce sugar in it. Once the cake is baked, it's baked. And this is a segue into the earlier question, how do you experiment? Given the fact that you are experimenting, it makes sense to keep ingredients separate and mix them only when needed, If you really want something, I recently used something and I'm going to put that on AWS. I've set it up in my internal data center right now. I set up a Redmine knowledge management piece at Team Indus. And I was configuring it, I downloaded, and there were 20 different ways to run it, and I myself was confused. I'm a pretty much hands-on guy, but I had a lot of trouble doing it. And then what I did, I was searching here and there. Eventually, I found this place called hublinux.org, downloaded an ISO image, and in another 5 minutes, after wasting 3 days on it, and these other junior engineers looking at me crazily saying, this guy does he really know his shit? After 3 days of it, I just downloaded that. It had, it has a database inside it. It has an Nginx web server. It has Redmine code, everything configured. Just put it on. You can deploy it onto a EC2 cloud compute machine very easily. So such things exist. It's not that they don't. Similarly, there are many other distributions that will be available, even for e-commerce business. But the problem happens when you want to differentiate them. So I was part of the team of Citibank way back in 96, 97, when technology powered that bank to become the largest bank in the world. It is still somewhere near the top, but then they lost out. And looking back into them, when I talk to my colleagues in New York as to what went wrong, why isn't Citibank still the tech Tyrannosaurus Rex it was? That's because all their technologies were they got married to their technologies and the tools. Okay? That is something as a good entrepreneur you don't want to do. Business has to stay separate and has to be addressed. If you're not customer focused, no matter how good an engineer you are, you're going to lose out.
But small scale industries, they don't have much money for investment. For example, the thing is, everything is licensed to base. Everything that those who are not much educated in the IT firm, and then they want to come inside to the, they want to develop a new sites or something like that. They don't know that what to do and then how to proceed. For example, I don't want to mention the names. Thing is this call center guy have some knowledge about the IT firm. But the thing is, he wants to explore, he wants to develop a site, and then he wants to come to that picture. But the thing is, he don't know how to process, and then what all the things have to be done. And then even though for example in SQL Server or anything else, we need everything is licensed based. Why I'm just suggesting to AWS is, whatever we use, we are just paying for you guys. If it is not, business is going to shut down. We are not much loss on that. That's the reason I just asked you to develop like that.
Sure. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Come on.
Our product from Sivaprakash. I'm from Trimble Navigation. So our product Trimble Water, we are completely using AWS, starting from EC2, Elastic Beanstalk, CloudFormation, CloudFront, everything we use Amazon. Like Sir mentioned about getting married to technology, I feel sometime our product is getting married to Amazon.
They sometimes feel that their product is getting married to Amazon. You mentioned about product management. So
they're
worried now.
Married to. What happens? Do we have any fear or we are completely relying on Amazon? If Amazon goes down, our total market goes down. Can't stay at single second with Amazon.
Yeah, let me take a crack at it. So, as an architect, I honestly believe that we should, I will corroborate what, we have been told before, that, we should not have a strong coupling between your architecture and how it's implemented, right? So it depends on how you are using AWS. We also are heavily on AWS. We are only on AWS. But we, whenever we put on S3, when we use, let's say we use some S3 SDKs, we rather use JCloud, for example, or some of the third-party libraries, or we abstract that out. If we have to use SQS, we abstract that out into our own libraries so that the movement is easier. You can mmove from SQS to RabbitMQs to some other provider later, right? But no matter what you do, even if you have your own data centers, you will be married to the underlying infrastructure at any day. You will have VMs, you will have hyper, virtualizers, or you will have AMIs, or you will be on, let's say, if new age guys are using Kubernetes, you will be on Dockers, you will be on Docker registries. So that kind of a marriage has to happen. But how do you get to that place? So you build your code, then you keep it into a repository. That's something that you can keep decoupled. That then how you create an image out of it, how you create a VMs or AMIs, or how you create your Docker files, that's something that you can decouple and easily move when you are moving forward. If you are heavily on AWS, which means you are using a lot of AWS SDKs, then yes, you are. But then you should really, really utilize all of AWS services to bring cost effectiveness, resiliency, or you are neither here, you're putting your legs on both the boats.
Yeah, it's like that because we created around 20 APIs in API Gateway. The code in the API Gateway, we have the source code, but without the API Gateway creation architecture, we cannot do anything with that Python source code. The Python code sits in the API Gateway. It is running and supplying as an API only because of the Lambda function and the API Gateway supported by Amazon. But just with the source code, if the APIs goes down, I can't do anything with that source code here.
Lambda
anyway,
is
we believe Amazon.
So you have taken an example of Lambda, which is a very apt, because I believe serverless cannot happen from your data center. Because understand this, and this is the myth some people have. Serverless does not mean there's no server. There is a server. Server is running. It's just that
it's not on premises. That's
sorry.
It's not on with us, but server
Not
is somewhere
exactly.
else in the
Not exactly, my friend. My understanding, and I can be wrong, right? It's abstracted from you. You don't have to worry about where is it running. You don't have to worry about procuring those servers. So that's serverless for you. For you, you write code and it will run on an event, right? Yes. So win some, you lose some. You win not having to take care about it, but you lose because somebody else has to take care about it, right?
Yeah. And one final question to you, sir. And you were a successful startup, it all. Like
Not successful yet.
Sorry, a good startup company. To meet the business challenges, and the competition, you have to build the infrastructure fast. You picked up Amazon services, web services to build the product. So once you you won the competition, do you have had any idea of moving out of Amazon and build your own infrastructure?
No, so okay. See, I'm a tech guy, right? I'm an algorithm guy. I would not say I'm a tech guy. I'm not from DevOps background, right? I get married to algorithms. I don't get married to AWS Azure. So for me, like you're saying, right? Okay, I have an instance, I have serverless. I don't understand what is serverless. For me, it's an async task which is not falling in my customer. When the call happening, that particular task is not in the same pipe, right? It is an async task, which baad mein trigger hoga kahin ka, right? So I'm very clear. I have a clear perspective of what is my control flow, what is my algorithm, and what is architecture, right? After that, today, AWS doesn't scale, I'll move to somebody else. Like, I'll give an example, right? Somebody came to some startup, right? AWS EC2, these guys charge based on the uptime, right? It's not based on the use, it's called pay per use, but then use is nothing but uptime, right? So this startup has come down and said that, hey, I'm going to charge you pay actual usage, how much of resource utilization happens server. So there are a lot of market innovations happening like that. Do not see, never get married to that brand, AWS or Kinesis or XYZ. Get married to the logic and the algorithm. That in your head will keep you independent. You'll not have the stress ki shit, things might go wrong.
I'll add to it. I'm also not a very big proponent of this thing. Do not see me as a pre-sales guy for this AWS. But I tell you something. You cannot do good by staying in between. Either you take full on all the PaaS services of AWS, embrace them in your architecture, use everything,